There was a chance I wasn't going to have to make this video at all this season, but then the Avs lost Game 7, and they actually ended up sending more players to Worlds than they did last year. So let's jump into the 6 that went and their varying levels of success. As always with these international tournaments, keep in mind that the quality of competition can vary greatly, so sometimes stat lines can be a bit deceiving. The Avs sent 6 players, 2 goalies, 3 forwards, and 1 defenseman this year. Let's start with the goalies, as both of their tournaments were relatively short, those being Philipp Grubauer and Pavel Francouz. All of the Avs joined the tournament midway through because they were in the middle of their playoff run for the start of it. But once Grubauer got there, it was not the tournament he had hoped for. Halfway through his first game, he seemed to have pulled a muscle or at least strained something in his lower body, pulled himself out of the game, and ended up only playing in 3 games total. After the no decision in being pulled in that game, he would play in 2 more games, 1 a win, 1 a loss. His stats were decent with a .920 save percentage and a 2.86 goals against average. Unfortunately, he was the goalie of record for Germany's elimination in the quarterfinals to the Czechs. Germany just didn't really have a strong team in front of their goalie for this tournament. Grubauer seemed fine in his 2 starts after his injury, so I wouldn't put too much thought into that, and really don't put much weight on this tournament at all for him in general. Francouz also only played in 3 games this tournament, but not for injury reasons or anything like that. The Czechs just decided to go a different way for strange reasons. In Francouz's first 2 starts, he pitched 2 shutouts, so he played fantastically. Granted, that was against Austria and Italy, so not great competition there, but still, a shutout is a shutout. And we also got to see some of the Francouz we saw last year at this tournament, where he is very free-flowing and willing to play pucks anywhere on the ice. So despite 2 perfect games for Francouz, the Czechs just did not want to put him in. He only had 1 other appearance, and that was in relief in the semifinals in a game where the Czechs had already fallen behind significantly to Canada. His stat line for the tournament looks ridiculous, with a .957 save percentage and a .78 goals against average, with 2 wins and no losses. And maybe the best news is that he signed a 1-year extension with the Avs during this tournament, and you have to think that means he will be the Avs backup for next year. The Grubauer-Francouz tandem everyone has been asking for, it's gonna be a thing. Moving on to the skaters here, first let's talk about Sven Andrighetto. He always seems to be the type of player that elevates his game for these world tournaments. Joining the team late, Sven was put in more of a depth scoring role this year, but he still played that role quite well. He showed off some goal scoring ability that we all know he has, and even scored a few big ones for the Swiss. He scored 1 of 2 goals for the Swiss against Canada in the quarterfinals, but then Canada scores with 0.4 seconds left in the game, and the Swiss collapse in overtime. After taking silver last year, the Swiss may well have deserved to be in the medal contention again this season, but end up falling just short, and Sven ends the tournament with just 3 goals for 3 points. After that, you have what was easily the Avs' best player in this tournament, and that is Gabe Landeskog with Sweden. He joined the tournament later than anyone else, as he was recovering from some injuries through the playoffs and needed to be medically cleared before joining Sweden's team, but the second he stepped on the ice, he was a beast. Against this weaker competition, it's just straight up hard for people to deal with his size, and no one could take the puck from him if he didn't want them to. Beyond that, he also showed surprisingly strong vision and set up his teammates quite often. Playing more minutes per game than any other forward on Team Sweden, Landy looked poised to lead them into the medals. Sweden looked like they had things locked up 4-1 against Finland in the quarterfinals, and Landy had 2 points in this game. And then in the second half of it, they just completely collapsed, with Lundqvist and the defense just not holding up their end of the bargain. Finland would end up scoring in overtime, and Landy and Sweden would be eliminated before getting into the medals. Landy, however, posts a fantastic stat line of 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points in just 5 games. Next up, we do have the 2 medalists for the Avs, and that is Nikita Zadorov and Tyson Jost. Zadorov would take the bronze with with Team Russia, and he played just like how we know him to play. Zadorov regularly threw down strong physicality and big hits, including ones that ended up getting him a number of penalties throughout this tournament. Z started out getting number 6 minutes for Russia, but as the tournament went on, he steadily worked his way up into a more of number 4, number 5 role for the team. He also at times seemed to fancy himself a bit of an offensive defenseman, regularly carrying the puck out and even pinching in on the offensive end. That, of course, didn't really work out for Z, as he only registered 1 assist throughout his entire time in the tournaments, but he was still a valuable piece for Russia on defense. After being just edged out 1-0 by Finland in the semi-final, Russia took it all the way to a shootout to beat the Czechs to earn the bronze medal. Given how strong Russia's lineup looked this season, you have to think they're a little bit disappointed that they didn't at least make the gold medal match, but Finland just was on a perfect run this year, even without a strong lineup. And that brings us to our silver medalist in Tyson Jost. And this is not the fun story we were all hoping it to be for him. He started off the tournament great. Steps off the plane, jumps on the ice for Canada, and picks up 2 points in his first game. It looked like Jost was poised to step into a middle 6 role for Team Canada and be an important producer for them. And then they just decided not to play him very much. As the tournament went on, Canada steadily used him less and less. He would end the tournament with less than 7 minutes of ice time per game on average. With no ice time, his scoring dried up as well, as you would expect, without any opportunity, and Jost would end the game with just those 2 assists that he scored in the first game. In the semifinals, they would use him as the 13th forward, and he would play just 2 minutes. In the finals, although dressed, he wouldn't even touch the ice. This was especially disappointing because Jost was playing as well or better than a number of forwards that were getting significantly more ice time than he was for Canada. There always seems to be some weird politics about the way Canada builds their team and plays their players, so I'm not exactly sure, but it's still disappointing. Jost could have done so much more for that team. Perhaps Canada ended up getting what it deserved for not playing Jost by losing 3-1 to Finland in the final. Despite Jost not playing in that game, he still does get to take home the silver medal, so congratulations to him there. This marks the 5th straight year that an Avalanche player has won a medal at Worlds, and for Jost and Zadorov, it is their first time. From an Avalanche perspective, this year's tournament really wasn't that interesting. Watching Landeskog dominate was fun, and Zadorov doing his thing was nice as well, but for everyone else, they just didn't play that much or got knocked out early, or there was just something that was holding them back from what could have made this tournament a lot more for them. It's always fun to see Avs players continue playing after the season is over, but hopefully in the future, and I mean the near future, the Avs are still playing NHL hockey at this point. That is the end of this World Championships video review. Thank you for watching, and as always, a special thank you to all of my contributors on both PayPal and Patreon. I appreciate all of you guys so very much, and if you really like content like this and want to help me make it better, consider contributing at the links down in the description. I'm Rudo3, and I guess it's time to go full draft mode now.
Avalanche time, come on, grab your friends. We're going to the playoffs again with